All right. Hello, everybody. We are back. We are back
Good to be back.
after a long time. After a long time, we're finally back. It's the start of the 2022 season. I first want to say, I'm back. I'm back in the league.
Very long retirement.
Just, just a couple comments on that. I did reach out to everybody and talk to everyone, so everyone knows. But at least for a little bit, it was a source of stress for me, and so I really was fully intending to move on. But then this guy, Dustin, really pushed to get me back. Really appreciate it. Yeah, if you have anything else to say, yeah.
I do want to say one thing on that. Like, not just you. At this point in our lives, we've been in this league for so long. I don't want this to be like stress for anyone. It was for sure. When we were younger, like very competitive, and like I still like that, right? But like, if it's getting to the point where it's not sustainable to just be doing this like year after year and you're like burning out and stuff, like I want people to like come to me and tell me, and I do want to try to I think the league should evolve to how we're evolving, because now we're all over 30, all at different stages of our lives, right? So I think it's not a bad thing that the same things that worked for us and like engaged us back in our younger 20s, I think it makes sense that in our age now that the same things don't work for us as well. So I want like everyone in the league to like come to me if you have concerns like that, if you ever feel in a certain way, and I want to see this league go on for a much longer time. So I work really hard to try to make you feel like that we can make the necessary adjustments, and hopefully the league will be evolving to what we need going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think it is for fun first and foremost, right? I understand people having high standards. I have high standards for myself, but projecting that to everybody can be a little bit tough, and everyone's doing this for different reasons. So I think overall, though, we all come together, and we're trying to have a good time and enjoy the NFL season together, right?
Yes.
So I think that's overall what we're trying to do. John's already saying he needs more auction dollars. See, this is what I mean. We need more of this stuff.
I mean, that's what you'll miss if you leave this league.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The personalities, the quirks of John asking for fab auction dollars. Everybody has their own thing. So like, if we could just really enhance like how we feel about that kind of stuff, and like just get the format and everything to a point where it fits our lifestyles really well, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. I think along that note, I mean, there's been a lot of change actually since we've last talked. But I've got a co-owner now, Donovan. He's doing great. He's trying to pick up the league, and that's one of the things that I told him I really like about this league, but also don't like about this league, is that it's very unique, extremely unique, and we'll talk about that, I think, later in the show as well. There's a lot of things in the off season, during the season, you make trades that don't make sense in any other league but this league.
Yep.
So there's a lot of that. And then we've got a new owner, right? We've got Capital Region being replaced. Ken, thank you for everything you've done. And now we welcome in Alex Feigenbaum.
Re-welcome in. He was a co-owner, and now he's a solo owner. So
that's right.
Really interested to see how much he, absorbed from his stint back then. But the league has changed so much that I can see it not being very relevant to how it works now. But
True.
Yeah, really interested to see what types of moves he makes, what kind of management style he has, and I think we saw some of it already this offseason, and it'll be very interesting to see how he adapts to the new rules and everything.
Yep. Just gonna check if the audio is all good with everybody. But yeah, just making sure.
Warren, LIC also added a co-owner too. So
yes.
a lot of co-owners getting added, and I think
John did too, right?
yes, John also did too.
Mars did, yeah.
Yes, I think it's like I think a rewarding thing about this league is the depth and complexity of it, and explaining it and like teaching it to someone. From my experience, I found was really rewarding too, because I did this kind of thing for a few years with my co-owner, and every year they get more and more savvy to like the intricacies to how even how certain owners operate, and
Right.
they come to expect certain things of people, and you can see the progression year by year, and I think it's so rewarding, and I think everybody that did pick up a co-owner will see that side, and it's nice to have someone to talk to about this super complex league that also understands what's going on, because like I can tell someone else about a trade I made in this league, but with the context of our rules and our format, it doesn't make sense. Like you said,
Doesn't make
like
any sense.
they'll just be like, yeah, okay, like I don't what, and
Yeah.
but like with somebody co-owning, like every move you make, every good move, bad move, it's someone to understand exactly what's going on. So I think that part is going to be really rewarding for all the new owners.
Yeah. Paul is saying he should have got a co-owner, but he messed up. Charles was right there, man.
Yeah.
And John took him up. But anyways, I think with that, let's move on to. I guess for today we'll just do quick summaries. I don't want to spend too long on everything.
Sure,
We can talk for a long time, I'm sure, on everything. But
we got to ease our way back in.
yeah. We don't want
to like a 4-hour show on the first return.
No way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll start with the rookie draft, which I think happened a while ago now. I guess a couple of things. The lottery was interesting, right? I think I somehow got the second spot with only 10 lottery balls, I believe.
Somehow, this is part of our deal, Wonky. I don't know why you're saying somehow.
So that was an interesting thing. Although I feel like the second pick was kind of tough. It was really tough.
I don't think this was actually the best.
It's really tough
for
to
move up to 2. Like it's good to have your own choice, but also like it wasn't one where I thought like it was clear what you should do. There's a lot of choices I thought you could have gone with that would have worked as well too. But we can talk about what your thought process was.
Well, I think let's just, instead of going with everyone's picks, right? I think let's just summarize for the first round. What do you think was kind of the main storyline that you took out of it? Could be both positive or negative. It could be
For
and
me, I thought,
or and. Yeah, go ahead.
There was, if you look at the how that first round went, it was 2 running backs and then a huge group of wide receivers. And from talking to everybody about who they thought was going to be there, who they valued as like top of that tier and everything, I got a lot of differing opinions, and I think we probably saw how it played out. And I think you could easily make a case for the 8th pick or the 9th pick or the 7th pick wide receiver to have been the first or second wide receiver off the board. So I think a lot of people lower in the draft were kind of just content to let whatever fall, because there was a big tier of uncertainty, and people were like, okay, I'll just, if I get one of these like top 4 or 5 receivers that I have on my board, I'll feel good. So I did try to move down, and nobody was really looking to move up, especially into that mid range. So I think that's what we saw, and like this draft board or this first round has the possibility to look really, really like crazy or funny in like 2 or 3 years, just because it's so easy to compare wide receiver to wide receiver, and like for a lot of people, like certain guys were available to them like the whole way, and like they might have gone with someone else, and like I think we'll look back at this in 2 or 3 years and be like, oh, how did this guy get taken after this guy who's out of the league, like the JJ Arcega-Whiteside of this draft or something, So it's gonna be like everybody put their opinions on, especially I think in the like top 3 picks, like you had to like kind of make more of a stance on like what you liked, and the people below, they get the benefit of just taking what came to them.
Right.
If something happens with some of the other guys becoming better, they can just be like, okay, he wasn't available at my pick. But the people who had to pick early, they had to, actually put some onions on the line, so they
Yeah.
have a chance to look dumb or look smart if it plays out.
Yep. So man, I don't know how much to share, but I always share a lot here, and it's also all to. I have to say this before saying all these things, but like this is all for the general health of the league. I really want everyone to be very competitive, very thoughtful, very critical with their process, right? I want all 10 owners to be like that. And whatever it is that they do best, do that. And then let's all compete and see who wins the year. That's kind of what I'm always thinking, right? I don't want to be, dominating every single year. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It would be too boring, honestly. I mean that very truthfully. It doesn't make any sense. So anyways, back to what I was going to say. If I was alone, I might have picked Chris Olave as my second, as the 102.
I think that's easy. He went 7, and I think it's very defensible that he could have gone 2 even. So
yeah, it was. It's very tough. It was very, very hard with that second pick, but I think overall, we went with Ken Walker. I think we were wide receiver heavy with their keepers, I believe, even back then.
Later, yeah.
But we wanted to take a running back. I think it made more sense. He's great too. Don't get me wrong, but I really like Olave. I think he's gonna be really good. It was either London or Olave. They're very close to me. Those are the 3 that I was really thinking about. So that's one of the things that I thought was a storyline, right? Chris Olave dropping to the 7th pick. I didn't personally understand it, but that's me. I could be completely wrong. I have no idea. We have no clue, right? And then the other thing that was kind of interesting was that trade at the back end. I don't know if you had any thoughts, the trade between Virginia and Harlem.
Yeah, so George Kittle was involved in that trade, right?
Yes.
I believe?
I think so.
Yes.
I think so. I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, spoiler for a little bit later, but Harlem actually traded for George Kittle by swapping the one spot in the first, and I think a second round swap option for next year, and ended up not keeping George Kittle. So I thought that was actually really funny.
Oh.
Yeah, so in hindsight, that's already kind of a bust of a trade for Harlem, but it shows how they're very strict to their idea of value, and examining the value later in the offseason sometimes does change what you think of certain keepers and stuff, and they ended up not keeping George Kittle, but I actually think it was the right move. You shouldn't let a hasty move early on keep hurting you. So they just cut bait. They were like, okay, the trade we made is already made. We don't love the value on keeping Kittle, and they just moved on from it. And I thought that was really interesting too.
Yep, that is interesting. The keepers will be posted at the end of this show. It's to keep you guys on.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be in a couple after we finish the rookie draft. We won't take long here, I hope.
Yeah.
So let's just move on to the second round. What do you think was the main storyline here? I think a lot of these picks were interesting, but you can go first if you want.
Yeah, I mean, the main storyline has to be Mars locking in their second round pick the night before it was due, and taking Malik Willis, who I think is a very talented guy, very raw. I think his reading of the offense and his timing and it's quite far behind what you would expect from someone taking this high. But in terms of tools, that guy does have crazy tools. So I see where he was, where Mars is thinking with this. They're shooting for the moon with 2-1. They don't want a player that's going to contribute and that's it. They're hoping to get a franchise corner piece, and this is the last year of the $2 second round pick. So this is potentially the last year that we'll get a keeper of that caliber at this spot. So he did swing for the fences. I did think he could have traded down probably and gotten Willis and someone else in the second round probably, but it definitely was a statement to lock it in pretty much the night before. And I asked him the day of too, and he was like, yeah, I already locked it in. So we let it fly. Malik Willis 2-1. So that was really interesting. And then after that, a lot of just like we had a lot of wide receivers, we had a lot of like that second tier of running backs. I thought that came off the board, and it's really hard to tell like who's gonna be good out of that group. I really had trouble ranking them when I was like considering who would be nice to take here.
Well, according to the preseason, you chose the right guy because Dameon Pierce
true.
is lighting up the fantasy football boards. The ADP for him has just risen so high. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, the tiebreaker for me was Houston running back, without a lot of draft capital, like Arian Foster, keep it going. But yeah, I think in preseason he has looked really good, and he was getting a lot of buzz from the beat writers like from a long time ago. And if you read like carefully, like a lot of people who actually follow Florida say the coaching was terrible and like he was misused and underused and stuff.
Okay.
So, that's I think where you get these guys that kind of seem like they come out of nowhere. It has to be, a bad scheme or, some other issue that kept them from getting drafted as highly as like, someone that's good should. But maybe this is one of those guys that falls through the cracks because of that. And then when you get to the NFL level, some guys just finally fit in the right scheme or show what they can do. So hopefully that's this guy. But I think talent wise, like there were a bunch of guys in this range that I thought were really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember Isaiah Spiller was hyped up a lot as
he was supposed to be
the third best.
Like yeah.
Like right after Ken Walker, he should have been a first rounder, but then he's fallen all the way to the 8th pick of the second round. So I mean, we'll see. Maybe there is talent there. Harlem got a really good discount, but
we'll see on the return.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, can't believe it took that long
yeah, I know.
to get to there.
Spiller is a guy I do like because people. I think he probably gets a little bit of a bad rap because of Josh Kelly, like, and previous Chargers running backs. But Eckler isn't super young. Like, there's definitely a ton of opportunity if he is the guy. And I think he's like a pretty good bet there.
Yeah. And then I guess for the rest of the rounds, anything that stood out to you? I guess for me, what was maybe interesting, I guess I could talk about Zamir White myself. Like, I thought that was a good pick. Good job, me. But no, I think it's a pretty good pick. Josh McDaniels probably is going to rotate running backs. Maybe not. Who knows? But likely he will because that's what he's done in the past. And so White could have a large role there. And, Kenyon Drake has already been sent away since then. So his stock has kind of risen a little bit.
And I could see them moving on from, Josh Jacobs next year.
Right.
I could see them just not being the type to want to pay running backs. And, I think Zamir White has a chance to be even more valuable next year. So, he might be somebody that you have to wait on to carve out a role this year. He flashes late this season, and then maybe we'll see, him actually show out next year too.
Yeah, talk about another guy who was touted before the draft. He was, another person.
Yeah.
Another player who was really touted to be very special, but I guess fell a lot after the draft. Any other picks here that you would want to highlight?
Yeah, Cade York, our first intentional kicker taken. People did ask Flushing if he was sure he was going to take a kicker, and he said, yeah, it's on purpose. It's not auto draft. And to his credit, I think Cade York has looked really, really good in preseason.
I think he's good.
I think he's good, and I think that offense might be like the perfect like can move the ball but stalls out every now and then because their QB situation, where York could get a lot of opportunities and stuff. So well, it is funny to see a kicker get taken in the rookie draft. It's not the worst thing. I think it freshens things up, and it is a funny thing to see. And I think that is kind of one of the trademarks of Flushing. They're not as beholden and strict to pure like value plays. You have to make this optimal decision that leaves you the most options and stuff. They just, some of it is just by gut and like, this guy could be good, and what's the worst that could happen? You lose one like dead cap or whatever. So I thought that was really funny, but also really representative of what Flushing is to our league.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I feel like the special teams, both kicker and punter, was pretty strong this draft.
Yeah, it was supposed to be
There,
punter.
but that
Took
guy,
a
let's move on from there.
yeah.
But yeah, overall, good draft by everybody. I think you know this was done pretty early too, so I think a lot of calls here have kind of moved up and down since then. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward, and we'll talk a little bit maybe about Brian Robinson. I think that was in the chat. He did unfortunately have incident off the field that has kind of sidelined him for a little bit, but he's since moved from Virginia to Mars for J.K. Dobbins. I guess if you want to talk a little bit about that trade, what you thought, if there was anything you wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked what Mars was doing, like the idea behind it. Dobbins is surely a good talent, but he is coming off injury, and the reports aren't as glowingly positive, like off the injury. I mean, they say he's fine and like he's on target, but like usually you get like these like, oh my god, like he's like faster than before somehow, like type of reports, and I don't think we've been getting that kind of stuff. And they have tempered expectations, and it does look like they'll split a lot of touches there. So in theory, I did like it for Mars. Don't maybe get away from that kind of a risky type of backfield and try to get a piece of something on the rise. But unfortunately, Robinson did catch a bullet, which is very unfortunate. Mars has some bad luck with Washington running backs. Darius Geis, Robinson. I mean, those are two rough picks for them. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how people are now also dealing with pick swaps, where it's I did kind of close down on a little bit of the too intricate stuff because people were complaining about like I don't know what this pick is gonna be like talking in trades. They're like, okay, someone offered me this pick that's like already like 3 times like protected, and like it swaps back and forth between these teams if something happens, and if something happens, like I don't know what to value it as because I don't know what I'm like rooting for.
Right,
and, like, what happened. So I did try to simplify that because people were like, I don't want to try to think like 20 steps into the future and like I end up with like nothing because like the pick disappears if John wears a hat on like Sunday or something. So we did simplify it, and I think we are getting a little bit good. Like to just like straight protections, which is a lot more I think realistic than just like
definitely.
If you start this guy like 10 times or I think it's
10
a
of
bit,
this yeah.
So I think we saw it in that trade, and I think we're gonna keep seeing it in other trades, which I think should be a little bit in the right direction for people that found like some of that stuff was getting a little bit too crazy and complicated.
Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's take a look at some of the trades actually from here. So I think we've been. This is my. That's my transaction history. We've been pretty busy, the two of us, in trades. I guess we can talk a little bit. I mean, some of these trades we won't comment on them. Sorry, guys, but we'll just not mention. But I think one of the big ones was probably this Leonard Fournette one, and Najee
Harris.
Yeah, being moved. That's pretty big, and that actually led to another trade down the line. But what were your thoughts here?
I mean, it's a huge trade. Najee Harris is definitely being ranked really high for running backs, and he's super young. And then Fournette had a really, really good year last year. And then 2 other wide receivers, I think, Marquise Brown, I think, who got moved again, was also involved in the trade. So definitely a lot going back and forth. I don't know. I guess I think a lot of it depends on how much do you believe Fournette is going to be able to repeat even, a good percent of what he did last year. And then for Najee, I know he had a foot injury of some sort, and, his O-line is still shaky, and new QB, Trubisky, like, is that going to elevate the offense, make it somehow worse than how Roethlisberger was looking? Like, it's a lot of moving pieces in each of their situations. So it's straight up, Warren is betting that one thing will happen, and Harlem is betting that the other will happen, because
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, it's like position for position. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That pretty much sums it up. I was gonna say it's just one of those challenge trades that it's basically. I mean, Hollywood's there, but it's essentially Fournette versus Najee, and who's gonna do better this year, right? So
Yeah.
you have to. That's basically it. Each of those teams think the other, right? And so
Yeah.
we'll see if maybe there's a scenario where both are great. Maybe both suck, right? But yeah, it's one of those challenge trades.
Who would you lean to? Just gut without looking at.
It is hard. This one's a hard one. They're close.
Yeah.
Man, I think I would go Najee, but it's actually for me it's very close. I don't think it's very much in one direction or the other.
I agree. The foot injury is always scary because
that's true.
Like it's something that could linger all year, and like if he's getting managed with it, and then like if his offense is just bad, you could just have like a guy that's useful but not as useful as how much money he's being kept for. But he is the younger talent compared to Fournette, who has had some bad years and doesn't look always that talented. So it's hard. Yeah, no, I don't think there's a gut reaction. If anything, Fournette being a significant amount cheaper than Najee might actually
it plays
make
into
me
it.
like it in that direction, because if Fournette does kind of suck, like you're on the hook for a lot less, and you still have a lot more money otherwise to build a team around what you can expect out of him. Whereas with Najee, he's taking up a little bit more of your cap. So if he sucks, then you might be in a little bit more big trouble. But yeah, I agree. It was like extremely hard to pick a winner. I think both sides have pretty good reasoning for probably why they made this trade.
Although I think at the time of this trade, did we know Najee had the injury? So I think if I factor in the injury, then it's more close. If it wasn't an injury problem for Najee, because I could see the negatives for Fournette are kind of higher without injury than I think for Najee. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Fournette.
Maybe Harlem has sources in rooms around the NFL. It's possible.
But it's almost I could definitely paint the story where Fournette loses his job mid-season. More so than Najee, and take away injury, right? And then when you add the injury part, of course, Najee has that injury now, so that evens it out for me. So that I think is in play, but maybe at the time it was maybe more of a definitive win for LSU.
I can agree with that.
But yeah, let's move on to a couple of trades here that happened. Sorry, moving fast here. The big one. The Mark Andrews. So Mark Andrews goes to Great Kills. Great Kills sends Pollard and Amon-Ra to Madison, and then Akers to Flushing, and then Madison is sending Dawson Knox to Flushing, and Mahomes to Great Kills. So I guess I can start before you go on. The behind the scenes if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But initially, the gut reaction is to be like Mahomes was given up for Pollard, Amon-Ra, and Akers, right? You just look at the players, and your reaction says, "Wow, doesn't seem like it's enough for Mahomes." Obviously, Mahomes is really good. A lot of people are saying he's going to be worse this year because he lost a weapon, which is true, and there's a lot of uncertainty there. But he's still Mahomes, and this is still a super flex league. He's still probably going to be top 5. I mean, if even if he has a bad year, he'll be a top 10 QB, in my opinion. So with that all said, you look at the salaries though, and that's where I think it's unique to this league. Also,
exactly.
It's the timing of the trade right now as well, before the season starts. So Pollard and Amon-Ra are both pretty cheap. I think Pollard's like 5 and Amon-Ra's like 3. I could be wrong about Amon-Ra, but somewhere around there. Very, very cheap. And so they should be really cheap keepers, could be kept long term if you are a huge believer of both of their talent. Akers also pretty good. That went Flushing's way, of course. You guys know how I feel about Akers. I think he's great. The question mark is his injury and recovery from that Achilles torn last year. So, yeah, I think the main the main thing is considering the Mahomes cost of $40. What does a $40 Mahomes mean in our auction draft? We don't really know. I think for now, right? We'll have to figure it out tomorrow when we actually do the draft.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe that's a too high of a price. Maybe that's too low of a price, right? We don't know. But it really depends on what you think about that price for Mahomes.
Yeah.
And then factoring in also the keeper ability of all of those younger players and how you feel about them, right? I mean, I think they're great. I don't know if I would have personally made huge bets on them like Madison does, but Madison has his own opinion, and I think that's fair to do at this stage. And a lot of people are probably wondering, with Mahomes being in that untouchable status in the past, just immediately being moved on. I think my only gripe about the trade is that maybe Madison could have waited during the season to make this type of move, right? Because this is a clear kind of moving away from the past regime, turning in your chips now to get some hopeful young blue chippers. Why not wait to see if those blue chippers are actually real in the season? But
sure.
Doing it now also has its benefits, obviously, right? Because you're gonna save some money in the auction draft.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
That's all of these factors, and I'm probably missing some too as I talk through the trade. When you can't just look at the players, this league is so different.
Yeah, that context is so crazy. I think you nailed it. Like we'll find out a lot tomorrow because.
Yep.
When's the last time we had a under 30 youngish quarterback that was pretty much consensus top 5 quarterback hit the market? Pretty much
long time ago.
Not since we've switched to this new format, certainly. So I mean, you can ask 3 or 4 different teams and you probably get all different answers what you think that kind of player gets on the open market. But I think what Madison is doing here is saying that I don't think a QB is going to fetch much more than 60, 70, and while that's good value for this year, certainly because he's 40, that's an expiring asset in terms of a long-term value to him. And I do agree he probably could have waited just into the season, and teams are always one team is always looking for a QB pretty bad, and he probably could have swung Mahomes during the season. I do agree, but it does give him maybe 2 pieces that he likes really early before even they appreciate, because you could see if one of those guys he got starts off this season well, then already that could be something that's really hard for him to get later in the season. And I mean, I think we'll see tomorrow, because I think Lamar Jackson is
yes, he is
available, right?
Yes,
so,
he is.
I mean, that's a good marker for what people think QB is worth. And QB is such a hard position to nail down the price, because
it is.
Some teams are locked in at QB already. They have their 2 and a backup. Some teams have no QBs. So year by year, it's gonna be different. Like, if the right people are looking for QB, sometimes you'll just get a bidding war, and maybe the top QB goes for 90, 80 something. Or if all the other, if certain teams are looking for other positions and QB kind of gets neglected, we might see the top 1 or 2 QBs go for only 60, 55, 65, something like that. So it changes the context of what you evaluate this trade at hugely.
Definitely.
And I mean, obviously we think quarterback still matters, but I guess we will see tomorrow what the type of value is. And these trades, I actually had no hand in negotiating.
Oh, really?
Face to face. It was actually all Matt.
Wow.
I had to jump in and do some of the legwork and ask what people wanted and try to work things out. But he actually took it from beginning all the way to the end for both these trades, and it's such a complex, not complex in terms of what's going on, but some pretty big names with 2 different teams moving. It's always hard to work out. So props to him. He's working on it for probably the last 4 or 5 days. So we'll see. It certainly does commit a lot of money, pre-auction for us. But at the same time, I think we get a lot of certainty. Much more known quantities with Mahomes and
Andrews.
Mark Andrews, compared to a lot of what we gave up and a lot of what's on our roster. So I think it was good for us to kind of get that balance back. Not so much as home run and like swing or miss type of players and roster formation. So even if we are losing a little bit on like straight value in terms of guys that could, save us more money and stuff, like I think we feel pretty good about the base now we have for.
Matt learned well. He learned well from the master. It's what a great trade. I think Lamar. Just a comment on Lamar. He was asking for too much guaranteed money, so we had to let him go.
Yeah, in real life too. Yeah.
Yeah, in real life too. But I think guys, if everyone's listening tomorrow, just keep his price at like 50 to me and make Great Kills lose this trade. Okay, guys.
Feel very dumb.
Yeah. Don't don't let Dustin win. Is what I'm saying. All right. Anyways, there's a question in the chat. How good would Amon-Ra and Pollard have to be by the deadline for Dustin and Matt to say, man, that's just too much to give up for Mahomes? That's a good question, right? Thinking about probably like top 10, top 5 around there, right? Yeah. Really high.
So, but the thing is, if Mahomes is like a top 3 quarterback, then there's probably no price where I'm like,
yes,
I'm not gonna get. But his stats are trending.
Yeah.
Negatively every year.
That's right.
And he lost an amazing weapon.
Yes,
so
that's the downside. Yep, forgot about that.
This is necessarily the Mahomes that we all were wowed with, like in his rookie year. Like, oh my God, this guy like number 1 QB in his rookie or like his first year like starting. Like this guy's like crazy. Like we all think of him as that asset.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Pretty fair because like he was like this amazing guy for a long time. But if he's just like 5th best, like then the prices start to change a lot, So
yeah. There's a scenario for where Mahomes is not as good. Definitely not as good. You take away that deep threat, right? You don't have those bombs anymore. What's that going to do to his stats, right? So it's true. Maybe that's what Feigeman was thinking about when he made this trade. So I don't. True. Yeah, it's very fair thinking about the other side of that too, not just the Pollard and Amon-Ra. That's fair.
Every trade is so crazy. There's like 200 moving parts that could swing each trade like a little bit this way, a little bit that way, and like you're like trying to factor all of them in, and like with the salaries and everything, that's like another few like factors that you have to like try to calculate. So I think making trades in our league is
challenging.
So complex, and it's crazy that we get as many trades done even with those like challenges, because like most people would be just paralyzed by like I think this is too much risk for me because like there's 200 different things that could make this trade a straight lose for me. But like credit, I think that's why our league is so great. Like everybody is not afraid of that kind of failure, and they're diving in. And you play other leagues and you're like, come on, just like let's just make a trade. Like I'll like give up more than like I think I should, and like it's like pulling teeth a lot of the times. But
yeah, I think the flip side about having all of those options is that you can mold it to whatever your strategy is, right? Mm-hmm. So you know yourself, you know what you're best at, and so just make the trades that will give you that edge for yourself. And someone else will play it differently to whatever their advantage is, and both sides might think they got the better end of the deal, right? Because they can match their players and strategies to what they're good at. And I think that's what's so interesting now, right? Before the draft. That's why these are so interesting, because Feige also has a plan for the draft. You can tell, right? He has a plan, or else he wouldn't have made this trade. And so he that comes into his strengths, what he believes will happen in the draft, and what he thinks he's good at and he's able to do in the draft, right? And that's going to be the same thing for you guys as well, right? Same thing, and same thing for Flushing as well. So just keeping all those taking those into account. That's kind of where I think a lot of the fun is, right? Even if there are a lot of options. So don't be too paralyzed, guys. I know there's a lot of ways to make mistakes, but if you just think about what you are good at and what you can do best, then go and make trades for that, and you probably won't fail. You're just putting yourself in a position to succeed. I guess let's just definitely don't have a plan. Whoops. All right. Well, I'm putting a lot of words in your mouth, but I think you do, maybe. Anyways, let's move on to some of the trades that I made. So I picked up 2 receivers. One of them is Hollywood Brown for Kirk Cousins, and then the other one was Jalen Waddle for a a first round swap, 1-1-1-2 protected, and some fab, like 6 fab. Honestly, the rationale here was when you guys put the keeper deadline a week ago or so or whatever. That made us scramble, do all the preparation, and I have to admit I was very behind because I joined the league so late. So I was really behind, and so once I did all the preparation, I was like, oh shoot, we need more keepers, and so that's where all of this came from. Bothered a couple people for extra keepers, and these are the deals that were done. Turned out we got 2 wide receivers. I don't think we needed to, but we did. We think they're great. We think they're going to do well. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying. There's a plan, right? I mean, I have, 5 wide receivers? We have like 5 wide receivers on our roster. So there's certainly a plan for tomorrow in terms of what our draft strategy will be. Would be crazy if I just jumped in there and bought like the top wide receiver.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Actually.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's kind of clear, right? So let's...
Yeah, no, I like how you got pretty young guys with a good amount of upside, for pretty cheap without giving up too many important assets. I think they're probably not as shiny or as name brand as Mahomes or Mark Andrews, but these are the types of deals that set you up long term. Like the cheap ones that give you the flexible pieces to make more moves later on and stuff. So. Some teams are building foundations. Some teams are building, small assets. Some teams are doing all different kinds of things. So I think we, definitely see a certain type of strategy with each trade.
Yeah, and I think just briefly, I know you guys are itching for the keepers. We'll do it right after this. But in Harlem's point of view, I think Kirk Cousins makes a lot of sense. Getting you a cheap QB, getting you a QB that I think will do really well. It's not that I don't like Kirk Cousins, but I think he'll be very good this year. We were going to keep him anyways, but he's going to do great. And then on the other side for Hua, I think it makes a lot of sense for him to give one of his keepers a longer term deal. I mean, I don't know exactly what he chose, but in terms of what he got in return, he gets the optionality, of course, in the first round for next year, but also the ability to keep one of his elite, in my opinion, elite guys for an additional Justin Herbert for 1 more year. So let's see if that actually happened. I'll actually move it to the keepers now.
Okay.
All right, here we go. And these are also the new divisions as well, which is mind blowing. But so take a moment to take this all in. There's a lot going on here. I don't even know where to start.
I just want to say we're doing something new with Rivals this year because a lot of people kind of found it dumb how teams chose Rivals and stuff, and how it plays out where it's just Rivals that don't really make sense. So what we're gonna do this year is I'm gonna go reverse order from the bottom, and I'm gonna put up a poll open for a certain amount of time, and the league will be able to vote on who you think the rival from the other division will be. I mean, maybe some people will vote strategically and be like, okay, I want like this to happen or whatever, and maybe some people will vote with a reason, like like I loved it when this guy beat this guy in the playoffs, or these guys are always like disagreeing on certain things, like it would be nice to see them face. So we're gonna try that out for this 4-year period. I'm sorry for making that decision by myself, but I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, like I think it's more engaging than just pick the worst. I mean, it's also insulting for somebody to just pick the worst player, who they think is the worst player.
Right.
Yeah. So let's just try it this way. You still all play the same teams, like same number of times. It's a bit of a fab difference, I guess, if you lose, but hopefully this will lead to some more interesting matchups for that week. So, definitely going to try that out.
To clarify, we all vote for who our division mates' rivals are, or is it? Yeah, I guess that's what it is, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with Orange County was the last seed because they did finish poop twice, even though they did finish strong. With
in the 4-year. Oh, you're talking about the 4-year picture. Okay.
We're doing 4-year picture.
Okay.
So Yeah, Orange County is the lowest seed, so I'm gonna put up a poll right about now, saying who should be the rival of that team, and then we'll just keep going.
We all vote. All nine of
Yeah,
us.
we
All
all
10 of
vote.
us.
All
Sorry.
9 of us vote. Yep.
Okay.
And then we'll go reverse order. Obviously, some teams are gonna get skipped if they get picked as someone else's early on. So we'll see how.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see how
Nice.
people decide, and I'm interested to see, what people think is a fun matchup, or a matchup that has rivalry implications and stuff. So hopefully we can get some more interesting matchups this year.
Can we leave comments on that, by the way, that poll, on why we chose?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's free to discuss or convince people to vote a certain way. Yeah, so let's have fun with it. Let's talk about. You could make arguments. Oh, this guy when he lost to me in the playoffs, you definitely you could just play around with stuff like that. So
sure.
I am gonna post the first one right now, and then I'll set a certain hour cutoff, and then we'll move along until draft tomorrow. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right, and there's the draft, so I guess you could take into account the teams, but it's probably not going to play that big.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's awesome. I think already some people in the chat are finding that awesome, so it seems like it's a hit already, and let's see what happens. In the chat, someone asked about Trevor Lawrence getting the 3-year deal.
Yes.
I'm not surprised. First of all, I'm not surprised because I talked with John a little bit. Yeah, we had a little bit of discussion about Trevor Lawrence, so not too surprised. But I guess what are your thoughts on Trevor?
I think the new dead cap system definitely played a big part in this. It makes a lot more sense to trust talent and bet on talent and give a long-term deal. And if they're just not the goods, it's not that bad to cut anymore, especially later in the longer deals. So, I think, John is aware that, the Jaguars could ruin Trevor Lawrence and he could turn out not to be that bad, not to be that good. But even with that, in the third year, his cap hit is minuscule. And if he's good, you've gotten him locked up for really cheap, and you can keep him even longer after this deal, so it preserves his long-term value a lot better. I think this is probably gonna happen more and more. You're gonna see it happen in the meta a lot more, where people kind of bet on cheap, young, talented guys that haven't necessarily broken out yet. But if you have the years to give, you can preserve their value for long. And if they suck, you cut them. And I think the cuts are so much easier to deal with. So. I think it was actually the right move for John to do that, because Trevor Lawrence's pure talent is undisputed. You can definitely see him becoming a very, very good player if the Jaguars could just put a good team around him, and Peterson could coach a good offense around him. So definitely it seems risky, in the context of old, 3-bow or all the jokes, but. The new dead cap system actually makes this, safer and conservative, because he's preserving this guy's value instead of just kind of trying to be risky with it and just give a 1-year deal, because then you'll see the number go up way higher, and you'll keep him for only 2 or 3 years instead of the 5 that you can get out of him if you give him a deal like this.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, 3-bow was a really genius move by Mars.
Good. So,
honestly, he did really great.
A lot of the moves that John gets made fun of, some of them actually turn out to be really good.
Really good.
It's actually the moves that he feels the most confident about, and
never missed
that backfire. He thought he made such a good deal on the Mahomes deal, and that.
Oh God.
Yeah,
gotcha.
He was so smug that he ripped the second overall pick, the first overall pick of the second round, and maximum.
It was a lot.
Freedom. Yeah, it was everything that Ken could possibly give up. Up for Mahomes, and he gave him Garoppolo too, which at the time people were like, oh, Garoppolo has a chance to be pretty good too.
Yeah.
In a 49ers offense. So yeah, he was so happy about that deal, and that one turned out poorly. and then everyone makes fun of certain deals that he makes, and then they turn out to be good. So yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I think just to play devil's advocate, just for a little bit, to be clear, I like Trevor Lawrence too. I think he's great, generational talent. Honestly, personally, that's what I think. And I think Jacksonville was in a really bad spot last year. I mean, some of their concepts were just embarrassing, honestly embarrassing. But anyways, the devil's advocate play here is that Trevor Lawrence, we haven't seen it. We haven't really even seen him do anything that gave you like a wow moment, right? A lot of these players, even when they're young in a really bad situation, will still be like, whoa, I can't believe he made that play right there. We haven't seen any of those, even for the first overall pick. And so there's definitely some potential issues there. Giving a 3-year deal on something that people can say is unproven, and I think that would be fair, is a little bit tough. Yeah.
Yep. My concern is that the Jags are actually proven to be a pretty bad franchise, and that could that could override any amount of talent. Like I think certain organizations are actually just so poorly run that some pretty good talents don't really have a chance to succeed. And I am afraid that this could be that kind of situation where Trevor Lawrence on a different team could be a very good player, but if the Jags don't know what they're doing and sign Christian Kirk to like a superstar wide receiver contract, and then they're capped out and they can't put too much more around him.
That's
and
right.
If this is the sporting cast that Trevor Lawrence has to grow with, like in the next 2 or 3 years, that's really honestly my biggest concern.
Yeah, I mean, they gave Burrow Chase. What does Lawrence get, right? Like, he doesn't have T. Higgins anymore. He doesn't have like his
an
Clemson.
expensive Christian Kirk. That's not the most exciting.
Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
Zay Jones. Yeah, I mean, it's just...
that is my biggest concern.
Yeah.
But like I said, the changing of the rules at least does make this make more sense in context.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else that stood out to you? I honestly haven't had a chance to look at. Trey Lance also got a 3-year deal. Yeah, Trey Lance.
I mean, I think the more crazy thing is I think we have our first 4-year deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait. Yes, sir.
That's a league first, right?
Yes, sir.
Yours is not a surprise.
Not
at all.
as surprising. Yeah.
Certainly a guy that is super talented and super young. So there's no reason to have any worries about like his QB's young, he's young. Like for a wide receiver, that's probably as safe of a long-term deal as it gets. But you did give out the first 4-year deal. Like what did you think of when you were deciding to give the 4 or less? Or
first of all, I just want to say this time last year, Chase was on my shit list. Dropping passes.
Literally.
Couldn't figure out the NFL ball because the college ball is different. Come on, man.
A lot of excuses.
Oh, God. But he definitely more than made it up during the season. He was very good. I mean, I did tune out a little bit near the end, but I know he had a 50-point game. Actually, he probably carried me through the end because I didn't even realize we got 6th or whatever place we got. But any case, he was very, very good. And so I think the talent was there. Clearly, that's what we saw in him and picked him for. And got a little bit lucky, too, that it showed immediately, right? I think that's the other thing. He's playing with Burrow, as I mentioned just earlier. So all of that chemistry is still there. And, as the two of them grow together, I think it's going to be... hopefully a lot of fireworks in the future. Please stay sane and don't punch anyone like Michael Thomas did. But
so this is what I actually expected people to be a little bit more aggressive with this kind of thing, because next year we are moving to a 5 total slots, but 8 total years thing. So you're gonna want to have some pretty good longer term keepers because you can't fill it out all with 1 years anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought some people would set themselves up really nicely with 3 and 4 year deals, because this is a good time to prepare for next year with by giving the best deals to your youngest players. I mean, we did see a lot of it. Jamar Chase getting 4 years, really exciting. Lance, Amon-Ra, who else? Trevor Lawrence. I mean, those guys would not have gone 3 years, I think, before all the changes. So we are starting to see a little bit more variety in terms of deal length and profile of players that are getting kept and stuff. So, I think hopefully we can get to a place where it is a little bit more balanced and a little bit away from everybody keeping like 6 guys on 1 or 2 year deals. Like,
right.
That does, I think, the lack of variety was probably the biggest problem, because it does kind of just turn it into like,
I agree. Yeah.
A little bit of a homogenous, all like same type of strategy kind of thing. So I think we are seeing some of the teams that are more like long term thinking, give out the 3 and the 4 year deals, and we are seeing some of the other teams that are a little bit more year to year doing their strategy, which I think is a really fun way to like differentiate between teams and styles.
So to comment on what you just said, first of all, I think going back to Chase, part of why we gave such a long deal was also because we don't have that many keepers to give them.
Kind of checked out and like did not start preparing for like long-term future last year. So that definitely did play into it for sure.
That was part of it. And then the second thing is we can still extend. So let's take, for example, Justin Jefferson. He can still be extended to more years than his current deal, correct? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that's also in the plans for LIC?
True. I mean, I think that's definitely what a lot of teams are thinking. Not make the decision when you don't have to,
Right.
And some teams are more like, if I make the decision now, I get this guy a little bit cheaper.
One more year.
You're getting him, 1 more year of him. So we are seeing, I think, a balance between how teams like to balance that, that long-term payoff and long-term risk versus teams that are more like year to year. Like, I don't want to commit to anything that I don't have to and stuff. So yeah,
let's see it. Honestly, I don't know. Donovan and I, we talked about that 4-year deal for a little bit, and we didn't think we were going to make history making the first deal, but I think it was still surprising to the both of us that it actually ends up working out fine. To our opinions, I guess, in the 4th year. But 4 years is a long time, so we'll see.
Yeah.
That's another
stuff
we'll
changes
see.
Quick.
Yeah.
Stuff changes quick for sure.
Anything else before we log off here? I mean, I don't want to take too much of everyone's time here, so thank you everyone again for joining. I'm sure the keeper list has been very exciting for people to now start their simulations and think about. We only have like 24 hours.
Simulations, Speaking of simulations, really interesting that I didn't put this in this because I was like checking numbers and stuff.
Yep.
Harlem actually cut DK Metcalf.
Oh, you're right.
That is a huge deal. So that cap hit is going to be 50% of what he was scheduled to make. I think it's like 40, right, or something.
Yes, 42, I believe.
Yeah, so that's a $21 dead cap hit. I mean, that's huge. I mean,
that's huge.
If Russell Wilson doesn't get traded, that doesn't happen, right? So that offseason turned out quite poorly for Harlem in terms of that. Like, he could have definitely at least traded him if Russell Wilson was still there. But it's crazy how that real life domino of Russell Wilson getting traded, definitely affects how you manage if you have $21 of dead cap. I wouldn't say it's unmanageable, but you definitely have to take a different approach during the season, I think, and maybe that's why we saw him scaling down from Najee Harris to Fournette, who's a good amount cheaper. It's another way to make sure that you're not going to have to cut another big piece, and then all of a sudden you're really, really hamstrung with how much you're working with. So exactly, like there's like so many factors that like we talked about like 20 when we were discussing the Fournette trade earlier, and then there's another one here. Like maybe the idea of having to cut Metcalf was like, okay, then let's go a little bit cheaper with running backs, or cheaper with our keepers, so that if we do have to cut them because of injury or whatever, we're not looking at $30-$40 of dead cap, and that's why this league is like so hard to evaluate trades, and we're wrong so often about like, oh wow, like this trade looks so good for this team, and like we're literally wrong like half the time, if not more. So Yeah, people shouldn't take our opinions on,
No.
on trades too seriously,
They
but
shouldn't.
we are just giving our what we think of at the time, and there's just so many factors that it's hard to catch them all.
We also overanalyze them for sure. Feigenbaum said, like, he probably had no plan in what he was doing.
Yeah,
But I mean, again, like, it's it's fun. So it's great to talk about it. I think what is it? Oh man, I got confused. So Big Game Hunter, is that Chu? Is that Andrew Chu? I thought that was Hua for a second.
It is.
But Kyler Murray
Also,
got the tag.
Orange count. Oh yeah, we can talk about Kyler Murray first. Actually, tagged 3 running backs already in tow. I think they're pretty unique for having 3 top 30
starters basically
running backs. Yeah. It's big. I mean, they could benefit a lot if they're zigging while everybody else is looking for running backs, because I don't see another team with even 2 that you would consider. Actually, Orange County is the other one with 2 pretty really good ones.
2 huge ones. Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say about Orange County, $257 of cap already. They have $43 for whatever is left of their roster. So
that's his team. This is his team.
This is more or less the team. You'll see maybe
one more starter. One more starter.
But it's funny how they did this last year too. I mean, you can't deny with a core of Josh Allen, Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, even Derek Carr. I think is going to have a pretty good year. Like, you can't really say like this is a bad strategy, but they are always, at least the last 2 years, they seem to be pretty set going into the auction draft, which is. We're definitely seeing a strategy or trend with them, and it's interesting. I mean, they had a really good year last year. They did make the playoffs, so we'll see if they can keep that momentum up and build on it, because they did unfortunately finish last out of all the teams in the last 4-year split.
Man, I can't believe that they finished last. That's unbelievable.
Like from 3 to 10, everybody was within points. So
wow.
Because Orange County got pooped twice and then got 4th place twice, and so that's pretty close, slightly below average, but that was slightly below average enough to be, I guess, the worst. But
that's incredible.
Yeah, a lot of teams were right there. Everybody had one pretty good year, and everybody had one pretty bad year in the 4-year split, and then it just came down to how your other 2 years were really. So
yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's so competitive now. I don't think being 10th on this list has the same meaning that it did back in the past. So.
Makes sense, and it's what makes it fun. Let's keep it that way.
Yep.
Cool. I think if you don't have anything else, I think I'm ready to call it. But
yeah, no, it's good to have you back, because this league honestly would not have been the same without you. So. I know a lot of people did express their concern during the off season, is Wonky really done and stuff, and I was I'm gonna try to get him back. So I'm glad I could convince you to at least give it another try.
Yeah, appreciate it, and thanks. And I'm pretty much already doing the show, already coming back, but I think. A huge factor.
It's fun. It's fun for sure.
The fantasy. I mean, I never disliked fantasy. I was gonna do all of this fantasy stuff regardless. But really big shout out to Donovan too. I think he's helped me a lot to kind of rekindle some of the joy, as you said, teaching some of this to someone who's completely new, and having him be like, "What?" But I do think I was telling Hua. As well, Donovan also really helps me a lot too, because you guys know what I'm about and my biases and my strengths and weaknesses. But now I've got this other element that you guys don't really know about. And one big thing, as I told Hua, was that I barely did any calculations, guys. The last couple of years, barely did anything on Excel. Yeah. But now Donovan knows Excel, so watch out. Watch out, guys. Yeah. Watch out.
I can honestly say, bringing Matt on and, teaching him and also getting his opinion at the same time. First of all, reteaching helps you, relearn it yourself.
Exactly.
So, you're always, thinking critically.
Exactly.
And then getting the other point of view gets you, away from your blind spots and your biases. It's literally not a mistake that, the perfect season came with Matt there. There was no chance I could have done that by myself, because everybody has their own blind spots, and it's impossible to like see it yourself unless someone else is there to point them out and give you the other side of things. So I really do think it's going to probably improve most of the teams that did bring people in.
Yeah, I think it's such a big factor. I forgot what Donovan said, like when I was talking to him, and he just said something very simple, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That is what matters more than what I just said. And it just grounds you. So highly do recommend, and it has been fun. I think it will be fun going into the season, and looking forward to it. So everyone, bring the best. We'll hopefully be bringing ours, and see you guys in 24 hours. Can't believe it's
really excited. Yep,
a 9 o'clock start. But anyways,
we've been waiting for so long, and now all of this coming. It's the show today, draft tomorrow, season starts the day after. It's all of a sudden just like the floodgates are open and stuff is happening. So really excited. Really good show too.
Yep, likewise. All right, guys, until next time. Yeah, so I guess for scheduling purposes, I don't really know what the regular schedule will be. It might not be the weekly thing that we used to do.
Yeah, we'll work something out.
Yeah, we'll figure
out what fits best,
Yeah, it might be... I don't want to commit. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right, guys, till next time. See you guys.
Right, bye.